I got a special guest with me here today, Tim Koubek. He's the longtime friend, client, and he also happens to be the president here at TrackMaven. So Tim, as you know, it's Span the Chasm. Core to what we do and everything that we bring to the marketplace is approaching what we do as a service. So selling as an active service. Now, we have gotten a little bit of blowback. Part of why I wanted to kick this series off is we've got a little bit of blowback that some people are saying approaching selling as an active service is actually weakness and is taking the sales rep out of the control position in the whole process. And so a couple of questions for you today on that. One is, what is your perspective on that comment that if I approach selling as an active service, it's actually putting me in a position of weakness and taking me out of control of the process? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so interesting question, Randy. So first you got to think about, like, most of us want to do good, right? So if you want to do good, do you have to do that outside of work, or can you do that with inside of work? And there's really two types of salespeople, right? There's the transactional salespeople that sell, don't really care if the customer gets any value, right? And there's sort of those salespeople that really care and sell as an active service, and they carry that on to their everyday personal life as well. So can you be successful in both? Absolutely. You and I have seen that over the 20 years we've known each other. You can be successful in any which way, right? But the question is, like, where do you have more control? And if you think about any relationship in a process, if you are offering value, in large part, in either method, a customer is probably going to come to you and you might be affected. But to your specific question about, like, do I cede control? Think about any relationship you have. If I care about you and we have a back and forth and I am trying to meet your needs, your specific needs, I would think that selling as an active service, you have much more control in that than you do trying to be a transactional salesperson, just trying to meet your number. Everything's all about you, and it's more of a narcissistic path versus selling as an active service.
What is the concept, both at a corporate level and from the sales team obviously reports up to you? What does that look like, viewing what you do as an active service, selling as an active service? What does that look like here at TrackMaven?
That's a great question. If I were to look at anybody that is customer facing at TrackMaven, the thing that distinguishes the successful people and consistent successful people and the inconsistent successful people are the people that care. But if you want to model a winner, you just really, truly care about someone other than you. Absolutely.
And I look at some of the cats and just thinking of some of the folks that we know here at TrackMaven that are consistently successful, guys like Brian Sartori, John Stokes, who are incredibly customer focused, and they're the ones that are, quarter after quarter are leading the charge for the teams, right?
Yeah, but that comes at a cost, doesn't it? Right? Like it's easy if you were to sell something and just move on. That's not so hard, right? Like, it's clean. It's like I can run my life. My life fits in a little box, as you know, in the 20 years. And boy, you've aged a little bit differently than I have. But when you care, that comes that you're up in the middle of the night caring. That's not a bad thing, right? Like, that's living, right? If you're up in the middle of the night caring about a customer, my goodness, that you can't see that as a curse. You got to see that as a blessing.
And I got to think that the prospect going to feel that as well, right?
Absolutely. And you know this, being friends, how we care for each other. You can feel that, and somebody else has your back. Why shouldn't a customer feel that from their sales rep, from their PS person, from anybody that interacts with them? They should feel that you actually care.
Certainly, I think if you reflect back, 15 years, 20 years ago, you did not, I don't think this was as important back then because it was a big transaction. You did a big licensing deal. You did the $2 million deal and you're kind of out, right? I get it. What are your thoughts on the change of moving from that licensing model to the SaaS model does as far as the importance of changing the way you're selling from that transaction to an active service?
Yes, that's a great question. No more one and dones, right? You sell it, the $50 million deals we've done, and you move on. You can't do that. That's good. Almost the market and again, anybody can learn to sell as an active service. It's really not that hard to start to care. You just have to be aware of it. You have to be aware of your actions and what they mean and how they're interpreted. But it has changed dramatically for the better, because you're almost forced to do that, because you have to every year, every 2 years get re-upped, where you would sell a $50 million deal and there wasn't a reason for you to be back into that account, you as a new logo salesperson, right? But now it's really important for the business to continue. A 1-year SaaS deal it's destructive to any SaaS company, because the churn in that just really hurts. So there's a reason to do it, but I would argue that you got to be careful to not take that just that reason. You should be doing it for all the other sort of good reasons.
And there's a real clinical reason why we need it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's say I've been working in a sales organization where there's a lot of push. Understand it, we got to make our numbers. And I'm never advocating for not making our numbers. I actually think that selling as an act of service is the best way to super achieve your numbers. But I'm working in an organization that's more pressure oriented, not so much focused on selling as an act of service. If I'm that sales rep, I'm that B2B sales rep in that environment, and I'm slightly intrigued by this idea of approaching selling as an act of service, what one piece of advice would you give to that person to consider as they're going through this process?
Yeah, so good question. I would say, mostly the more we're focused as salespeople on the outcome, the more dangerous it is. The more we believe we have to do this to get what we need so we don't get fired or yelled at the end of the quarter. If you are focused on the outcome, it's dangerous, right? You want to be focused on the process and progress within that process. In the process that we're talking about in terms of caring about people, you have to be super aware. What are the questions I'm asking? When I call a customer or a prospect, am I offering value, right? What's the value to them? Start with that question, because if you know, well, I need to call Randy because I want to make sure that he's going to make the deadline and he knows June 30th is the end of my quarter. That's the things I care about.
Right.
What is the value I can offer Randy in that conversation? So if you're aware, if you take your mind off the outcome, that allows you, if you're not a selling as a service person and you're more transactional, it allows you to then be more aware and say, every interaction I have to offer that customer, that partner, that friend, right? I have to show them that I care, but I really genuinely have to care.
I think what I'm hearing you say is this is forcing me to really make sure that every transaction is valuable for the other person and not, my needs, when I do those check-ins, I'm actually showing my insecurity.
Absolutely.
Right, but I'm maniacally focused on value delivery in every transaction. That focus is going to ultimately have a better impact than meeting my own personal selfish needs.
That's right. And it seems backwards, but it's not. Back to your original question, it actually puts you in control, because if there's no value there, you're in control. Who the hell wants to sell something to someone that there is no value to that person, right? That relationship's not going to last. So why do it, right? And especially in the SaaS world, it's just bad business, right? So
there's no such thing as a good bad deal, right?
No, there isn't.
So thanks a lot, Tim. I just want to say thank you very much. Number one, I'm grateful for our friendship. Super excited to be serving here at TrackMaven. Getting to spend a couple days here with some of my favorite peeps. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to cover, from our perspective, why selling as an act of service is actually a better path to client value delivery. How it actually it is better for overall sales success, deal size, sales cycle time, closure rates, long-term customer value, and ultimately the fourth thing that we're going to cover is personal satisfaction for the sales rep.
Absolutely.